Oh, there we go. Hello again. I came here a year ago and I presented then an aspiration, a series of aspirations. And what I'd like to do for the first 5-10 minutes is just talk to you about what we've done, what we think we've done, and where we're going in the next year or two. And what I really want to do towards the end of this is open up for questions and start to have a conversation. Let's just go through our to-do list. You may remember this. This is Martin A. Fox, or latterly our digital champion, and Francis Maud. They wrote a report together, commissioned a report in 2010-11 called Digital by Default. That's why I'm standing here now. And if you boil the report down to its four major aims, it was to create a central government digital estate. It's never been done before in a country the size of ours. Fix publishing, fix transactions, and then go wholesale. And I want to give you sort of a status report on where we are up to. To deliver that model, we've taken on 5 big tasks, and I hope that hopefully some of these will resonate for you both personally and professionally. The first is gov.uk. Anyone use gov.uk? Is that all? Anyone not use gov.uk? Okay, we serve 1.25 billion page views, 425 million users. Have you used the internet, those people using it? Okay, we will get to you, I promise. Let's see, cross your fingers, if this works.
Hi, I'm Eliane Wumi. I work at the Government Digital Service, and I'm here to tell you about gov.uk. We launched gov.uk in October 2012. It replaced the 2 big central government websites, DirectGov and BusinessLink. The idea was to make something simpler, clearer and faster, something focused on users. Firstly, we took a careful look and worked out what services and information we actually needed to deliver. We thought, for instance, that we could probably stop spending taxpayers' money telling people how to have a when abroad, or how to identify different kinds of waves. We eliminated thousands of pages that no one ever visited. Then we made sure that the information we were providing was as easy to find and to follow as possible. This, for example, is the page on DirectGov that tells you about bank holidays. Now, it has all the information you need, and you'd think it'd be hard to do it better. But looking at how people actually use the site, we realised that what most people were searching for was the date of the next bank holiday. So we put that right to the top of the page, big and bold. We've done the same thing to more complex tasks, like working out how much maternity pay you're entitled to. Before, on DirectGov, you'd need to read all this information. On gov.uk, you just need to answer a few simple questions, and the site calculates the answer for you. In April 2013, we finished moving all departmental sites to gov.uk, together with the sites for number 10 and the Deputy Prime Minister's office. So instead of every government page having a different design and different navigation, every site now looks and works the same way. At the same time, we've rethought how policy is presented online. Before gov.uk, if you wanted to understand government policy on something like gangs, for instance, you'd have needed to visit all these separate pages. Now, there's a single page for each policy, and all the departments involved share the responsibility for keeping it up to date. You can even subscribe to those policy pages so that you're always kept informed of any changes. And if you're responsible for a particular policy, you can find out how often it's being looked at and how closely it's being read. Today, gov.uk is handling more web traffic than the site it replaced at a far lower cost, and users get to the information they need quicker than they did before. Gov.uk is not perfect, and it's not finished. It's never going to be. It's designed to improve, to react to user needs. We've made thousands of changes to gov.uk, and we make small improvements almost every day. This idea, iterative, responsive change, is at the heart of everything we do. You should visit us at www.gov.uk. Hopefully, you'll see something you like. Something simpler, clearer, and faster.
So there we are, simpler, clearer and faster. Hope you enjoyed gov.uk. And I hope you enjoy it because it's yours. It's not ours, it's not mine. It belongs to all of us. It's a government platform. Increasingly, we had to start off in central government. It was a devil's own job getting 24 departments to agree to come to that platform, but they all love it, and we're all on board now with the message. Got 200 agencies still to go this year, I'm deeply aware that I'm talking to a lot of people from local government and wider public sector. It's your platform as well. Today there are 650 people with publishing rights to that platform. This time next year there'll be 8,000. It's something that for all of us. So that over the next year, what I hope is through our APIs and through our platform services, you too will be able to take advantage of GovUK. The next one of our 5 programs is Identity. And what we are doing in Identity is we've set up a market for federated identity services. In January, February, March next year, you'll see some of our leading services in motoring, in tax, and in passports take on federated identity services. What does that mean for you? Well, as a user, it means you can start using the identity that you already have to deal with government. That identity comes from a validated partner. You don't have to go through huge clunky government IT and technology identity services to get the services that you need. And we'll provide proof of identity for 45 million users. Say those words casually, that's a sea change in how government deals with users and businesses. And if we, as we roll those services out in the first quarter of next year, I expect a whole wave of effects rippling through both the public and increasing the private sector, because that will fundamentally change how users deal with the state. The third part of our major programme is technology. Can I have a hand up of those who've worked in central government? Keep your hand up. Did you enjoy the technology you were given? Exactly. We can't spend any more money on technology, and yet every civil servant I meet moans about it. So earlier this year, we moved the technology profession into digital. We've made some profound changes here. We're reforming £6.7 billion of spend. We're trying to get better technologies for our 400,000 staff, and we estimate we'll save £500 million off the wage bill in the first year alone. But the quality marker there isn't money, it's about getting better tools and better services to our users internally. The fourth major programme of work is measurement, because without data we are lost. Government is drowning in knowledge and information, and is terrible when it comes to data in terms of having similar data classifications. If you go today to gov.uk/performance, you'll start to see live service data. And you're reporting a tax disc right now, or an off-road notice, or for some local services, you'll see real live data, how many people are succeeding in the transaction, how many people are failing, and it's only by having a constant measurement of data and success that we can judge the overall success of our digital services. And finally, transformation. Today marks a huge day because today is the 1-year anniversary of the government's digital strategy. I would imagine you thought of little else today, but yeah, it's true. And the critical part of that, of all our 5 programmes, the one that's taking the eye most, is transformation. Because we're taking 25 of the top 50 public services by volume, and we're reforming them to become digital by default. Some of these are hugely important, but if you go to gov.uk transformation, you'll see the detail of each 25. This is a tease, because in about 2 hours' time, that page will be updated to show you alphas, betas, and many live services, including universal credit, that you won't have seen yet. So if you can bear to wait another 2 hours, you'll be able to see it just for yourselves. So 5 major programmes, a lot of success, and a lot of success to come. This year really has been a year of reform. 2011 was our startup year, 2012 the year of a breakthrough when we have a common platform for government in gov.uk. 2013 has really been the year of internal reform. It's been quite tough. I'm only 27, I just look like this now. But we are making huge strides in the public sector. But what we keep running up against is 4 factors that I call the square of despair. And anyone who's worked in and around the public sector, I think, can identify many of these. The first is money. We don't have as much money as we used to do. We're going to have less money than we have now. We've got to get used to that, and we've got to get spending money on technology that we don't need, and we've got to reuse our services better. The second factor is unhappy users. We have lots of them, because for a long time government services have not been able to keep up with services that mainstream consumers use in these businesses. The third restraining factor is security. I'm not talking about the sort of bigger Snowden type security issues. I'm really talking about the pernicious use of security as a counter to usability. I literally have drawers of equipment that I can't use back in the office. It's very, very secure. I just can't use it. And the fourth factor, and probably the elephant in the room, is procurement. We simply cannot continue to buy stuff the way we do. In fact, the word procurement is the problem. Once you procure once. We need to commission, and we need to think of much more about joining things together loosely on open standards and having switching costs that are appropriate for government. So how are we going to solve those four factors? Because they're the four factors that I run into every day, particularly in central government, but I suspect many of you are into them as well. Well, the major way we tackle them is actually not by tackling them head on, because we don't think that's possible. Indeed, there's a long list of people who tried to do that who probably haven't had as much success as they wanted to. We think we have to route around them, use the language of the internet, see them as obstacles. And here's how we do that. The first is we work on stuff that matters, really matters to users. Government is full of stuff that other people could possibly do, but it's also got loads of stuff that only government can do. This is one of our transactions, lasting powers of attorney. Has anyone used this, by the way? Yeah? Something you want to do at probably a difficult time of your life, transferring an asset, paper-based services, stuff like that. But we're not taking all the paper out, taking about 80% of it out, made a digital service. Interesting thing happens. Short while after launching it, we get a call from our colleagues in Nottingham and Birmingham where the services are, so you've got to come up and help us. I said, well, thought we'd done that, thought we'd made that. No, you need to help us to add something to our call centre interface. Because people keep calling us up now saying how much they like it. But we've never had positive feedback. And we literally don't have a button that says positive feedback on it, so could you add one? The second thing we have to do is route around the enterprise. We have to deal with this issue. Why do I choose 3 lever arch files to symbolise the enterprise? The answer, of course, is I couldn't get the 6 lever arch files in this particular requirement into the photograph. We must simply stop writing these requirements documents that take 18 months to write and commission. It's no way to run anything. And quite simply, we're just not getting the services that we want. If you don't believe me, have a look at this, and you probably can't see it from the back. It's one of those unhelpful slides you can't read. The bottom slide shows the amount of IT spend per person on digitisation by governments around the world. It's a Booz Allen benchmark. There are only 2 countries that spend more on IT than we do. One of them is Sweden, and we think there's a counting error there. We don't know why. The other is Switzerland, and that's because it includes the cost of the particle accelerator. So unless we start to dig up large parts of England and lay out CERN again, which I don't think we're doing, then something's got to give. We simply can't keep spending this amount of money in IT because it's the top bar that kills it. Because what the top bar shows is what the top bar shows is the IT spend. What the bottom bar shows is the effectiveness of that IT spend on government services. There's only Sweden and Switzerland that are getting the worst value in return because we're spending more and more money and our services are not getting better. In this same survey, we were 12th in terms of a digital leadership in comparative nations, in top 40 nations. 2 years ago we slipped to 30 and we're slipping backwards. So we've got to sort that out. Here's one way we do it. This is the dreadfully named Silicon Roundabout. But we can help with this. There are hundreds of companies in this country, some of them are outside in that room, who struggle to get involved in the government supply chain for technology and digital services. The maddening thing is we're really good at this in this country. Many of you here provide for great technology services. We need to reform our supply chain. This is a start. What you see on GovStore, you've seen with G-Cloud, you're now seeing the digital services framework. It will continue. It's not perfect by any means, I completely understand that. But we're making this up as we go along. We're opening up a supply chain and trying to get more competition and more commissioning-based services into the government supply chain. If we do little else, and if I do little else in this role, I think this will be the reform that persists. It's probably one of the single most important things we can do is start to open up the marketplace for better players, a better number of players. Already some of the numbers are encouraging. You can see those here. We're getting more suppliers on board and more SMEs. To be very clear, we don't really care about the size and scale of a company. What we care about is the quality of the service. But we cannot simply go forward with a small handful of companies through whom we buy everything in government. It simply doesn't work that way anymore. Our minister announced that 2 years ago. At the meeting where we announced it, the chief executive of one of those companies leaned over and chortled. 2 years later, we're still here. It's not going away, it's here to stay. So have a look at Digital Services Framework. A new framework, 183 suppliers, providing 8 capabilities. If you're in government right now, it means you can draw down on skills you've always wanted to have in your office. even on a time and materials basis, a day rate basis. You can get those skills working with you, they're validated via us, and we held a reverse auction to drive the price down, so there's an active market for those skills being provided straight to all parts of the public sector. In line with that, getting new talent in. Don't root around some of the big procurements, we've got to start with some talent. We start getting this generation into government and interesting things start to happen. They can do stuff much more quickly. One of the best developers I've worked with, a guy called Simon Willison, who famously said, we can now develop software quicker than the time it takes to have the meeting to discuss the development of it. We are in an era now where we just got to get this generation, got to give them a go. So we're based on open standards, we give them the tools and the platforms to work, and what we're seeing is the velocity by which we're developing central government services is far outstripping the way we can procure them. This is me with my head in my hands, starting the hard reform straight away. That map actually, for those of you who like me can understand enterprise architecture, is actually our motoring division. And it's when I finally, after 11 years, saw the infrastructure that we've been left with, and that's why I have my head in my hands. Those grey boxes on the right are 42 different batch runs that run on a single database. It means you have to close it down overnight, and we're spending loads of money on this stuff. It's crazy. We have to start reforming this stuff. It will not be done overnight. That system has taken probably the best part of 15 years to come to that state. It's not going to happen overnight. The reforms, we have to start really quickly. And this is why, because we can't keep sending handfuls of paper around the country in the way we're doing now. It's not good for the citizen, it's not good for us, and it's actually not good for people working in the civil service. Finally, we deliver. Everything that we do is about rapid, iterative delivery, and we deliver all the time. All our programmes are encouraged to deliver early, and we should be in alpha early, and always be in beta, and always be improving our services. Gov.uk is a platform, is updated as an entire platform on average about an hour and a quarter, every hour and a quarter, about 8 times a day. Because delivery is kryptonite in the public service. What we have to do is deliver early, deliver quick, and deliver often. And of course it helps to have leadership that gets it.
The Government Digital Service, which is committed to ensuring that as we reform the delivery of public services, they are designed around the needs of the user, rather than has been far too often the case in the past, being designed to suit the convenience of the government.
That is great leadership, but isn't it an indictment of all of us that a minister has to say that we have to design for the needs of the user rather than the needs of the government? Because if a minister has to say that in Parliament, what have we been doing for 15 years? So all of us are on the hook now for designing for the users. Now, that's our very rapid and probably not comprehensive enough run through of the last year. We've got 1 minute left, so I want to talk to you about an offer. I really want to talk to you about how we can help you, and I think how you can help us. We can't talk to everyone individually. GDS as a construct is reasonably small, but we're now working through and with most departments. We have to work the way the web works, which is small pieces loosely joined. I keep talking about open standards. Everything that you see us do, we're trying to make open and accessible to you so you can take into your domain and your area of expertise. Because cooperation through openness gets great results. Managing contracts does not get great results, in my experience, but being open with each other really does. This is how we share, and we're going to continue to share more in the following year. We share code. You can go to GitHub right now and get the vast majority of our code. In fact, governments as far away as New Zealand and Honolulu have done that and have taken it for their services already. We share principles. Keep it very simple, but these 10 principles underpin everything that we do. We share best practice, the government design manual. Everything that we do is on that manual for technologists, for digital people. There should be guidance there. If it's not there, let us know and we'll add to it. We shouldn't have to have hierarchical structures and loads of meetings across governments just to share best practice in how we do stuff. When we took on the IT profession, we closed down 24 boards overnight. Nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. That's not right. We should be sharing stuff via a browser. 2 months. Data. Sharing data, gov.uk/performance. It's all there. There's APIs from that. Take that data, but more importantly, make it bidirectional. Please feed in back into that data. Taking platform services. This is a forms platform that we're developing with many local authorities to show common service levels for common services right across licensing across local government. There's lots of other tools and resources and frameworks you can use too. We'd encourage you to use them, but more importantly right now, encourage them to tell us what you want from central government, because we want to open up central government's tools and resources for you to use. And you'll see in our strategy update, APIs are coming really soon for the majority of these services. We do it because it's the right thing to do. It might be a bit messy at times, but I think this is the right way to go. We've got to have a deeper relationship based on some shared code and some shared assets and understanding. And already across local governments, and I take no credit for these, I'm just singling up what I think are brilliant things happening already. In West Berkshire, they're testing their new beta site. In Lambeth, they're using the service manual. In the Borough of Westminster, using the performance platform to improve local services. In Warwickshire, they're publishing a digital strategy and we're working with our identity team on one of our early alphas. In Bristol, using open source software for better IT and changing their cost base. Very interesting what's happening in Bristol. I think there's pros and cons there, but it's fascinating to watch. And there are signs that this type of engagement via openness can work. In fact, this engagement via openness has to work, because if we can't be open with each other and we can't be all one government, then we really are going to struggle. And Socitm seems like a great place for us to engage, so I hope to be back next year. And this is the mea culpa, I suppose, or the ask, is that when I came to this job, I have to say I didn't see Socitm as being the organisation through whom we would engage locally. And the reasons for that, I think, probably were my perception of what it was, but also a thought from that being at the centre would make us too far away from Socitm to engage. But what I'd like to say now is that the work that you're doing and continue to do has proven me wrong, and I'd like to meet Socitm quarterly and channel our local activity and our platforms and services through Socitm. It's the best way to deal with local government, so well done to everyone in Socitm who's been involved with that. Because between us, we've got to get this stuff right. Everyone knows what these are desire paths. If we continue to lay pavement that way and people walk that way, if we don't deliver users what they need, they will route around us as sure as eggs is eggs. We have got to reconnect with each other because we're all in the same business of building a digital government. And our digital services are not an end in themselves, they're an opportunity to recast government. We're not here to change government websites, we're here to change government. And that's as true if you're working in the smallest part of a local authority as it is if you're walking around Whitehall. So we are, as a wise man once said, all in this together. That's where you can find all our resources. I'm well over time, but the slides held all the way through to the end, so that's not so bad. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Mike. Can we maybe have Mike over this side of the hall? I think we'll just take 3 questions in a batch, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to get things in. Would that be okay?
Sure, yeah.
So we have a gentleman from the front, Steve, is that?
Morning, Mike. Got my microphone on?
Yeah.
Excellent presentation. That's really great to present this morning. Steve Halliday, Socitm President. We'd very much welcome your kind invitation to engage with Socitm much more frequently. It's absolutely a separate organisation. Perhaps a little more frequently than quarterly even, but we'll work that out offline and delighted to see you here today. Thanks very much.
Okay. Well, we have a digital leaders meeting across government, and I think we should invite you to do that as on a regular basis to participate on behalf of local government.
We used to do work, we'll be there, but we'll be there.
Good.
Go on, someone must have a tougher question than that.
It's all right. I like that.
Gentleman here.
Hi Mike, David Dinsdale from Atos. On the API and the wholesale front, do you think, sort of moving forward, that having an API will become part of the service design manual and the digital by default service standard?
Oh, without a doubt. I'd probably race through that. The fourth part of the strategy is go wholesale, which is a bit of a clumsy phrase for getting all the data and services out. And that goes under, those APIs are absolutely central. But, I mean, it's a daily frustration that we haven't got more, David. The point is if you take that four-pronged strategy, you've sort of got to do them in order. You've got to have a digital estate, you've got to have a platform, then you've got to have transactions, and then you open up the APIs. Because if you open up the APIs too early, they're not going to link together very well. They're not going to provide a consistent level of service. So next year you'll see a lot of those APIs. I mean, APIs are more important than websites for me. There's many government set, I don't know about departments, but there's many parts of government that shouldn't really have a website in my mind, but should certainly think about having an API. We're working with parts of government now, Companies House, ONS, those heavily involved in data provision who really should, their entire future strategy is dependent on their API. We do have some, but we have hundreds of COBOL calls pretending to be APIs as well. We've got to sort that out.
Any more? There's a gentleman at the back there. Sorry.
Colour Descent, London of Tower Hamlets. Question I've got for you is around the identity. Most of the local authorities, like Tower Hamlets, we're very keen to have single account for our customers. And you mentioned 43 million users on the system. If you can share that account with you as soon as, what's the time scale for that? That's what is operating interest or payment or other things. The authenticated accounts, you were talking about customers interacting with government having some sort of account.
Okay.
Verified account.
Didn't catch all. Is your question when's it?
Yes, when's going to occur? When can local authorities start using some of those?
Okay, that's a good question. So pretty soon is the answer. So what we've done is we recognise across government, local, central, wherever, that we have a federated model of identity, none of which really works well with each other. So your experience as a user in Tower Hamlets is you have to identify yourself at Tower Hamlets, and then you have to identify yourself with the part of government. What we've created is an interoperable standard through an organisation called the OIX, and every provider of identity, banks, mobiles, post office, whoever, we've said, could you make your identity validation service work to that standard? So all government services, all boats sail on that rising tide. What we're now looking to do is for, hopefully, some leadership from local government to join into that standards provision, so they too can take advantage of that. We think we've set the market centrally, and in the first quarter of next year, you'll see 3 mainstream central government services use that standard. But in terms of local, I think it's a race to be who's first, and if Tower Hamlets wants to be on that, then we'd really like to help you do that.
Tony Colson, Birmingham St Mary's Hospice. How are you, what work are you doing around digital exclusion? So that's obviously an element of the programme as well.
Could you put your hand back? I have no idea where you are. Oh, there you are. Hello. Go on. Digital exclusion? Well, yeah. We have a digital inclusion strategy. We've pulled together a digital inclusion team from around government. We work with the Go On Trust, and in I think March next year you'll see the first outcome of the digital inclusion strategy. We also have a bunch of work around assisted digital services. Without any shadow of a doubt, we have to concentrate, get the mainstream services right now, but generally we have about 15% of users in government who either can't or won't use digital services for a variety of reasons. The major issues with inclusion are actually local and regional and highly to do with sort of social use of services. So we think it's really important not to be prescriptive about how we answer that from Whitehall, but make sure that we work with the appropriate local partners in areas to make sure there's a common standard so that they meet those inclusion needs. I'm afraid that's a generic answer, but without going into local detail, I can't do better than that now, but I'll happily talk to you in detail about that.
That's great, thanks very much. Well, just take one last one, if that's okay.
Hi Mike, Nick Roberts from Surrey County Council. We've talked about the other sort of identity. Now with gov.uk you've been able to bring a number of central government agencies and departments together under one brand. How do you see that working across wider government? Local public sector has very much its own identity. Lots of different authorities currently have lots of separate websites and separate identity. What's your vision of how that comes together as a pan-government? And does identity matter at a local level?
Okay, so there's 2 issues. There's a number of issues, Doctor. Let's take the 2 issues. Just take identity separately for one moment. I think your question is, what's the local strategy? But one of the first meetings I had when I went to this job was I went to see Bob Kerstake, who's the permanent secretary for DCLG, and what I agreed with him was that we would provide all these things that you're seeing now after 2 years as platform services. There are, I don't want to get the number of how many local authorities there are, 400 or 500, whatever. We can't sustain that conversation. We're not even going to try, hence my conversation earlier. What we want to do is offer those to you. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion now, which is if you're a user or a business in this country, most of 50% of transactions are done locally, we all know that. Nonetheless, being part of a loose network with some smaller interconnected parts, to me, seems a much more attractive proposition. I mean, when we came to central government, we had achieved what I think was beyond a sort of feat of human ingenuity, which is to create several thousand websites, and not a single element of a single one of them will look the same. You know, it's just beyond belief that we could confuse people that way. And at the heart of that, whilst I present that as quite a trivial sort of point, at the heart of that is a profound problem for government. Because what government was saying every day those websites were live was, you don't matter, we matter more than you. You've got to work out how we work to do business with us. And that's profoundly wrong, because we pay for government, we are the government. Now, I would contend that if we could make all our lives easier, if we presented government in whatever form, and at the very least were to be able to recognise it as government. Now, it's pretty easy with the big brands, you know, DVLA for your car tax and whatever, but government is, you know, several hundred agencies, 24 departments, and locally there's, you know, a vast amount of sort of digital influence and presence. I would think we would make it easier for users if we looked the same and if we had common services. And we all have to be the same. It means that at the points of transaction, at the points of inquiry, that users at least know how to deal with government. That's got to be a good thing. But I'm not going to sit in the centre of London and be prescriptive about that. What we're going to say is, here's some common platforms, here's some services. If you want to use them, we strongly think they'll be cheaper than what you have now. You'll get more utility because you can join in with other local authorities. And more importantly, you can contribute. You can make a, you know, it's not just something that's handed down, it's a platform that we can all contribute to. I recognise some authorities and some parts of the council may say that's not for us, and that's okay as well. I'm not going to sort of make myself mad by just trying to make everyone adopt that. There's no mandate for that. I think actually it'll be interesting to see some authorities take that and some won't, and that's absolutely fine. In terms of identity, that identity platform should work for everyone at whatever level. I think Norwich have just done an interesting deal actually with some of that. With Vodafone, we're going to make Vodafone HP. We're going to make that sort of standard interoperable. I think it's really important that those local identity services are interoperable. Otherwise, we're giving people extremely small footprints of where their identity matters.
Thanks very much, Mike. Can we perhaps give Mike a round of applause?